You are doing everything right. Reading right books, waking up early, meditating, journaling, working out and tracking habits. You look like someone who has it together. And yet, something feels wrong. Not broken wrong, not crisis wrong. Just trapped wrong. Like you built a very impressive cage and called it a life. Like self-improvement became the point instead of the vehicle. Like somewhere along the way you stopped growing toward something and started to growing just to keep growing. If that lands somewhere in you, this video is for you. Because what you are experiencing has a name. And more importantly, it has a way out. When I came back from the darkest period of my own life, addiction, psychosis and complete collapse, I rebuilt myself through self-improvement. And I mean that literally. It was the scaffolding that held me up while everything else was being reconstructed. The routines, the books, the habit, they gave me a structure when I have none. Purpose felt meaningless. Control when everything felt chaotic. For a while, that was exactly what I needed. But at some point, a scaffolding became a building. I was so focused on optimizing, improving, that I never stopped to ask, becoming what? Exactly. Improving towards what? I was running a very efficient machine without no destination. And the machine demanded constant fuel. If I wasn't improving, I was falling behind.
What is happening? I won't let this define me.
If I wasn't reading, I was wasting time. If I wasn't working on myself, I was being lazy. The self-improvement had become its own prison. Not because it was bad, but because I stopped using it as a tool and started serving it like a master. And the most disorienting part was, from an outside, everything looks clean and great. There is a concept there that I want to introduce. It's a spiritual bypassing. Psychologist John Wellwood coined using the term to describe using spiritual or psychological practices to avoid, rather than face your actual reality.
That's a 10 days of workout.
Your actual emotions and your actual material problems. Self-improvement can do exactly the same thing. You can use meditation to avoid feeling, using productivity to avoid sitting with emptiness, use reading about psychology instead of going to the therapy, use growth content to avoid the specific concrete thing that actually needs to change in your life. The activity looks like progress. The function is avoidance. There is also arrival fallacy, which I've mentioned before in my previous video. The belief that somewhere ahead, when you're optimized enough, when you're improved enough, you will finally feel okay. Self-improvement culture is built on that belief. And it's one of the most effective traps in existence, because the goal stop never stops moving. There is always another book, another habit, another routine, another version of yourself that will finally feel enough.
That's a 2-year of workout.
And then there is an identity trap. At some point, the self-improvement stops being that you do and became something you are. I am someone who reads 15 books a year. I am someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. I am someone who never skips a workout. These identities feel solid, but they are also cages. Because anything that threatens the identity, a week where you don't read, a period where routines breaks, a season of life that demands rest, feels like failure. Feels like losing yourself, when it's actually just a life. I want to say something that at the first time feels contradictory. The self-improvement cocoon is not wrong. It exists for a reason. For people who've been through the real darkness, chaos, addiction, trauma or crisis. The structure of self-improvement is genuinely healing. It's a cocoon. It's a container for transformation. A way of holding yourself together while something is changing. The problem isn't the cocoon. The problem is staying in it after the transformation has completed. A cocoon that once was a shelter becomes a prison when you are ready to fly, but you are afraid to break free from walls. The question isn't, should I stop improving myself? The question is, am I using this to keep moving toward in my life? Or am I using it to avoid this? So how do you know when you've outgrown the cocoon? And how do you break through? First, ask what self-improvement is in service of, not in general, specifically. What is all of this for? If you can't answer this question clearly, if the answer is just to be better, that's worth sitting with. Better for what? Better in what direction? Better toward what life? Self-improvement without direction is sophisticated spinning in life. Second, notice what you're avoiding. When you reach for a book, for a podcast, another routine, ask yourself honestly, is this moving me toward something, or is it keeping me away from something? The thing you keep not doing, the conversation, the creative work, the risk, that's usually where the real growth is. And no amount of optimizing will substitute for going there, really. Third, practice being instead of becoming.
Yeah.
This is the hardest shift for people like us. But there has to be a space in your life, real, honest and unproductive space where you are not improving anything, where you're just existing, just human, just being. Not because you've earned it, not as a reward for enough productivity, just because the life isn't a self-improvement project. Life is the thing that's happening while you are busy trying to get ready for it. I still use the tools, the reading, the journaling, the reflection, but I hold them differently now. They are instruments, not authorities. They serve the life.
I see it now. The path is clear. No longer a mystery, just execution.
The life doesn't serve them. And when the routine breaks, when life demands something different, I don't feel like I'm failing. I feel like I'm living. You built a cocoon for a reason. It held you when you needed holding, but you were never meant to stay in it. The whole point of the cocoon was always to get you ready for the moment you break through. That moment might be now. Tell me in comments, I'm really curious what type of self-improvement habit keeps you in cage. And subscribe, press like, and let's rise together. Have a good flight, fam.